I hope that this address finds you all well as we are in this dreadful situation. It has come to my attention that something must be done to oppose the tyrannical rule of the British. I implore you all to consider the way in which the colonies are being treated by the British and how their treatment has violated the very rules of which they claim to base their own government upon. John Locke explained himself well whenever he outlined the rights of man as life, liberty, and property. Locke has outlined that the individual is to come first and that the duty of the government is to protect our pre-political rights. It seems as if our rights are not being protected. Even worse, they are being trampled. The British have continually trampled on our own right to property by imposing taxes that we did not consent to, and the association seems to be the proper response to their mistreatment, as it does not violate Lockean principles but allows for us to respond properly to injustice. As someone who is familiar with Locke and the institution of government, I have seen that the British are in clear violation as they have insisted on taxing us with no representation at all in Parliament. Locke, however, does not claim that taxes themselves are unjust or unable to be consented to. However, Locke does argue that taxes with no representation are unjust, and thus gives us a reason to call the coercive acts from the British Parliament into question. Firstly, I want you all to know that the Association does not seek to sever our ties with the British. The Association simply seeks to economically pressure the King into giving an ear to our grievances. Lastly, if any colony chooses not to adhere to the Association following the passage of the Association, he will not be subject to trade or commerce with other colonies, and his liberties will not be protected as a freedman. I do not support savagery in the least and hope to reconcile our relationship with the British. This is why, in the Association, we have included the desire not to injure our fellow men in Britain. I do understand that at points in the Association it seems to be a bit harsh, but I would ask you to consider how we are currently being treated by the British. By living in the colonies and choosing to subject yourselves to colonial rule, given representation by the committees, it allows for the most extreme measures of the Association to take place. Without somewhat extreme measures, the Association will simply fail. This is not a fight that can be fought alone, and of something that we must agree on in order to have success in the colonies in the future. If we intend to continue living prosperous lives, we must push back against the British. The Association does not call for war or violence, but it simply does call for a check on British power so that the colonies may continue to prosper. I hope that you will take into consideration the articulate and well-learned arguments made based upon the recommendation of political philosopher John Locke. I would like to bring to your attention that these arguments are based upon fact and not only my own feelings about our situation. If we intend to make the colonies a stronger and better place and hope to restore them to their prior level of prosperity, it is time that we take a stand.